City of Grand Rapids has had a long and collaborative relationship with disability advocates of Kent County, dating back to when they were still the Center for Independent Living. The city as an employer has worked hand in hand with disability advocates to ensure that our employees are receiving the accommodations that they are eligible for under the ADA, up to and including disability advocates assisting us in redesigning our police dispatch center and most recently in the design of our Monroe lobby to ensure that it is welcoming and accessible to all individuals who are visiting the city. We are also extremely mindful of making sure that the voice and the issues of the disability community are heard within Grand Rapids by ensuring that there is representation of someone from the disability community on our Community Relations Commission.
The Planning Department has really enjoyed being engaged with disability advocates of Kent County. We've worked with them on numerous projects, particularly around planning, getting their input on what matters most to persons who have disabilities, all the way from mobility issues to sight, hearing, speech. What's important and what do we need to know from this part of our community that we seldom hear from? And so we engaged with disability advocates of Kent County when we did the citywide master plan. Another thing we've been doing with disability advocates of Kent County is working on universal design and trying to educate people through the development center about how to build universally designed buildings, homes in particular, so that as people age in place, that they can stay where they're at and in their neighborhood, and really to build awareness among the building community about the importance of building to that standard so that people can have visitable residences, but then they also can stay where they want. And that partnership has been very successful. In fact, we're working on a new grant for them to be able to actually engage one-on-one with developers.
A couple projects we're working on pertaining to ADA, City of Grand Rapids, City Hall, and Kent County building. So right now we're working on redesigning the main entrance coming from the parking ramp into the Monroe level of the complex. Really stepping back, making sure that we're approaching this thing from a universal design standpoint, making sure that anybody that comes to the building feels invited, feels welcome, everybody has the same experience. And it's really an approach that we try to take for a lot of our other projects as well.
As part of our FEMA flood wall control project at Anawan Park, we were able to incorporate a lot of accessibility items into the project, including the first and largest component, which was removing the stairs on the Gillette Bridge. That provides for a universal path for everybody to take versus an isolated ramp. We also were able to widen the previously narrow sidewalks up to a 15-foot width. We also replaced them with concrete so they were easier to navigate. Another thing that we were able to complete was connecting the upper-lower paths and removing some overgrown vegetation to allow for better visibility. We came through the entire south end of the park and looked at lighting concerns and provided some accessible seating built into the side of the park as well. This was the first of a demonstration project for work along the river, which will allow much more accessibility to view and enjoy the river and the river trail.
So Grand Rapids just finished construction on one of our first fully universally accessible play spaces in the city of Grand Rapids, and that is at Ottawa Hills Park. With this partnership with disability advocates, we were able to design and deliver a play space that looks and feels the same as any other, but really delivers to a much higher level and a different degree than we've seen in other parts of the city and other parts of the country for that matter. They've got some incorporated pieces that I think the common person wouldn't even think of. You know, individuals that have cochlear implants within their ears, children that are playing on these spaces, typically like to avoid those slides and play materials that are capable of generating static electricity, so some of those were rubberized surfaces. So at Ottawa Hills, as an example, we've built in some new slides that typically you don't see in playgrounds anymore. It's those metal slides, and those are really a great opportunity for these children with these implants in their ears to be able to play in these spaces without the fear of resetting these very technical pieces of equipment that they've got within themselves.
Achieving a goal of the GR Forward Plan, in 2016 the city formed the Mobile GR and Parking Services Department that combined parking with transportation planning and mobility initiatives. In 2018, we also merged with the city's traffic safety department to better integrate the city's traffic control system and coordinate efforts. Some of our ongoing work includes some exciting improvements for access for folks with disabilities to move through construction sites. This includes an ordinance that makes it so that all uncontrolled crosswalks, which are crosswalks that don't have a traffic light or a stop sign, default to stop instead of yield for vehicles. Those initiatives also include pedestrian countdown signal upgrades, so instead of a walk, don't walk, it lets you know how much time you have to cross the street by indicating the number of seconds. Leading pedestrian intervals is where city traffic engineers will take a look at the timing of an intersection to give the pedestrian phase more time. So all of these things are making sure that we let folks get across the street however they're getting across, whatever their personal needs are, that they have more information, more time, and more visibility, and less conflict with vehicles. Some in-progress projects that we have also include adding shelters, benches, and access concrete landing pads to bus stops, and a no parking in bus stops policy to allow folks to wait comfortably however they need and also board the bus in a way that is easier for them.
Lake Drive was our first complete street in the city of Grand Rapids. A complete street means a street for all modes and all users. And so we were putting bike lanes, we had sidewalks, bus stops, and places for cars. And as our first street, we had a ribbon cutting where Mayor Hartwell spoke. Ray Bauer was there, as well as Dave Bukowski and disability advocates, really celebrating how do we make our streets for all modes and all users. And it was a great event that has led to many transportation improvements in our city since. Ray Bauer had this great narrative about her experience being out on 28th Street and trying to cross to find a dentist in the winter. And Ray really served as an inspiration to us all in trying to figure out how do you get sidewalks on 28th Street? How do we implement that with multiple jurisdictions, working with MDOT? Centerpoint Mall was being redeveloped. How do we leverage this to be able to create sidewalks so persons who are in wheelchairs like Ray was can get to the dentist or to shopping? And as a result of her activism and her voice, we really listened hard at that and were able to have a ribbon cutting just a couple years ago to celebrate her voice and her activism and really trying to make a difference for people throughout the city to make sure that we had a completely accessible community.
This really does speak to the leadership of our mayor as well. It takes determination, it takes focus, and the ability for leadership like that to really open up these questions to different departments, which our mayor has done. And what that has led to is the ability for us to really think very differently about these spaces and partner with new organizations that maybe we haven't thought of in the past. And we're so grateful for this opportunity. We're so grateful for the partnerships. We're doing great things as a result.